You're listening to the RE Social Podcast with your hosts, Andrew and Vince from OnV Invest. For more information, go to onvinvest.com.
What's up, you guys? Today we have a super special guest, Mr. Henry Washington, BP host himself, Bigger Pockets host. Welcome to the show, Henry.
What's up, buddy? Glad to be here.
Hey, good to see you again, man. We quickly met at the BPCon 2022, and
you called me out for blowing you off the last time we were supposed to record, and you were like, "You didn't reschedule with me," so I had to be here.
That's how we get real estate deals, the same way. He just happens everybody. He beats them down until they relent.
The real way to do it was I stalked him till I found him with his wife, and I told his wife, and she was like, "He will be on."
Yeah, that's facts.
That's true.
Hey, for the record, I would have been there too, but I was literally in the middle of setting up our third short-term rental. It was like the final day or weekend, and I was like, man, I can't do both.
Wait a minute. So you didn't go to the conference about investing because you were too busy actually investing?
And I'll do you one better. I pulled Vince from a personal one-on-one conversation with Brandon Turner. Told him, you need to get up here and sign these docs for our fourth rental. I don't know if I'm stupid or smart. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I know.
TBD.
Yeah.
We need to see the numbers.
I was talking to Brandon Turner, and then I was like, I have to go because I have to go sign these docs. He's like, you're going to stop talking to me and go sign some paperwork? I'm like, yeah. Yeah. So, Henry, let's, I know most things about you because I've been stalking you online and watching all of your podcasts, right? But for the two people who don't know who you are, can you give us an intro about yourself for the next 90 seconds?
Absolutely. I am Henry Washington, real estate investor in the Northwest Arkansas market. I've been doing this for about a little over 5 years. Started with only $1,000 in my savings account and not very good credit, and have grown that to a portfolio of about 80 rental properties. We flip 10 to 15 houses a year, and I get the honor and privilege of being a part-time co-host of the Bigger Pockets podcast and a full-time cast member of the On the Markets podcast on the Bigger Pockets network.
Dude, one of my favorite podcasts of all time was On the Market with Henry, Kathy, James, and Dave. The best show ever, dude.
Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that.
I mean, I just don't say it. I had Kathy on here a couple of weeks back. I'm literally like fanboying the whole time. She's like, bro, do you want to talk or what's happening?
Kathy's a rock star, man.
She's cool. We actually made a lot of our decisions this year listening to the On the Market podcast, and it was very important decisions about selling some properties, getting rid of it, and the market turning and stuff. So that's you cool, said, man. Yeah, man, it's a great show. I mean, I follow it a lot.
Well, if all those decisions work out well, then leave us a great review, and if they don't, then we don't want to hear from you.
yeah, that's what you guys say on the thing. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review or don't review.
Right.
Yeah, it's already worked out, man. We've already sold a lot of the assets that weren't performed, and we exchanged that money into a better performing asset. That's so true, you said you have 80 rental properties and you only had $1,000 to start off with?
Yeah, man.
So can you walk our listeners through like how that's even possible?
Yeah, man. In all honesty, man, it was one step at a time, and I say that because the reason I decided to get into real estate was that I had extreme motivation too. I got married and started to notice that I needed to make some changes in my life financially because I couldn't be on the loan to buy a house, our first house together, because my credit was so bad and I wasn't really bringing anything to the table financially. And so the lender basically called me and said, if you guys want to be able to buy this house, Henry, you can't be on the loan. We only can loan to your wife. And so, that came as a big gut shot to me because I had done all the things that I was taught to do, and I had done them well, right? I got good grades in high school. I went to a good college. I got good grades in college. I got a technical degree. I got a good job out of college, right? Like I was doing all the things. I met somebody amazing and got married. And then when it came down to like being the provider I wanted to be, and I couldn't do it. So I had a panic attack. Not long after we ended up, not long after my wife ended up buying that house. And that panic attack came because, you know, my wife and I were having a discussion about our future and, you know, dream house and kids and vacations and all the things that young, new married couples talk about and, dream about. And I was realizing that like couldn't afford to do any of those things. And like I was just at this place where I was like, how can I not afford to do any of these things? Um, I thought I did all the things I was supposed to do in life. And so I had a panic attack at 3 a.m. because I was like, I don't know what to do. And woke up, sweat, you know, breathing hard, just freaking out. And started Googling, well, how do I make extra money? Because people are doing this, they're making money. How do I do this, make some extra money to try to solve these problems that I felt like I was having. And that's when I found real estate, and I found out that like normal people owned real estate. It's not just rich people, it's not just corporations, and that you don't have to have a bunch of money to buy real estate, right? I was seeing words that I wanted to partake of. Like the words I would find when I was Googling was cash flow and appreciation and passive income. And I was just like, well, how do I get these things in my life? And the common denominator amongst all those words was real estate. And I was like, all right, well, if all these normal people have figured out how to buy real estate, then there's got to be a way to do it, right? I have to be able to figure it out if everybody else has figured it out. I'm a smart guy. And so I made a decision at 3 a.m. that I was going to buy real estate, even though I had bad credit and I had only $1,000 to my name, right? I didn't let my current situation stop me from figuring out how to do this. And so that was a long-winded way of telling you like how it all got started, but some of the concrete things that I did, the actual actionable steps that I did to help me get there was, since I didn't know how to do it, I just figured I needed to be around everyone that knew how to do it so that maybe I could learn and see how it was getting done. So step one, that the first thing I did was I just went to every real estate investor meetup that I could, every single one. And I went consistently. Every time there was a meeting, there was investors in a room, I just got in that room because I was like, I need to know these people. I need to see what they're doing, how they're doing it, so that I can figure out like how I can do this for myself. Uh, and I was relentlessly consistent about going to those meetings. The second thing that I did was I started telling everybody that I was a real estate investor. That's how I introduced myself. I took on that identity, even though I had no clue how to do it. That's who I became. So, like, even so much as when people would uh, introduce myself. When I would introduce myself to people, that's what I would say. I would say, "Hi, I'm Henry. I'm a real estate investor, and I work in data analytics for Walmart." Right? Like my career became second in that sentence because I wanted people to see me as an investor. I've always been a strong believer in like in the world that we live in, what you put out is what you get back. You attract what you put out into the universe. And so I wanted to attract real estate deals, anything related to real estate. And so that's what I put out into the universe, even though I didn't even know how to do a deal. Um, so those are two actionable things that I did to get started. And those turned out to be the two, other than educating myself, those turned out to be the two most crucial things because as I was going to these meetups, I was super intentional when I went to the meetups. I didn't just show up. I showed up with the intent of meeting people and learning, not just learning from people, but learning what their wants and needs were so that I could figure out how to be of service to them. Because if you can be of service to people, then they will naturally want to be of service to you. They will naturally want to help you. Right. And so I would do that by making sure that I sat in the power seats in the room. If the meeting was with a speaker, I sat front and center. You know who else sits front and center? People who know what they're doing, people who have money, people who want to do deals, people who want to learn the most about what's happening. And so I was around movers and shakers by positioning myself that way. And then I would learn what they're doing, how they're buying deals, talk to them. I just ask them questions, right? What kinds of deals are you buying? Where are you buying these deals? How are you finding them? How are you funding them? Right? all the questions, right? And get them talking. As they're talking about themselves, people love talking about themselves. So I'm building rapport. People are seeing me as an expert, even though I've never done a deal, because of where I'm positioning myself in these rooms. And I'm building a network of people who like me, right, and want to help me because I want to help them and I like them. And so and then I started telling everybody as an investor. That's what led to my first deal. A buddy of mine was in a very, very tough spot with the property, called me and said, "Hey, somebody told me you're buying property and I got to sell my house. I got to sell it in 30 days. I need to make XYZ amount of money. That means I have to sell it for 115,000. I know it's worth 150, 160,000. I don't really care about that. As long as I get what I need, I have to go buy this property. Can you buy it in 30 days or less?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I can." And I had no idea how to do it, but I wasn't going to talk myself out of doing it. Right. This was my opportunity. And so um, that's when all of the things that I was doing prior to that started to really come full circle, because I did not know how to do it. But I had a network of people now who could help me get it done. And so I was able to ask them, "Hey, how do I buy this thing?" I literally had to Google, "How do I buy a house without a realtor?" after I told him yes, I was going to buy his house. And that's when I learned I had to put it under contract. And so I Googled, what's under contract mean? And it said, well, you need to sign a purchase and sale agreement. And so I Googled, how do I find a purchase and sale agreement? And then I found one of those. We signed that document. And then I took that to a bank and asked them for money. Literally walked into a bank, the closest bank to my work. And I asked them, is this a deal you guys would finance? They looked at it and said, well, this looks like an excellent deal. We would finance it as long as you have the 15% down payment. I was like, yeah, for sure. I got that. Right. Like only had $1,000. Right. But that's when I was able to take that. I had the deal. I had the people who were going to fund it. And I was like, I need $20,000 to buy it. And I went to my network of investors and I said, hey, I got this deal. I think it's a good deal. How are you guys buying these things? And I was able to have those investors brainstorm with me to help me figure out how I could get it closed. And we actually landed on me using a 401k loan to buy the property. And so for those who don't know, like you can borrow against your 401k without having to pay penalties or fees because it's just a loan. It's a loan to yourself. But you do have to pay it back with interest, and your employer will take those payments out of your paycheck pre-tax. So it actually reduces your taxable income. And so I was able to say, all right, well, if I can find a 401k, I can buy this property. And luckily my wife is smarter than me. She actually had one. I did not. And so I went to my wife and we talked about it and she was like, let's do it. We borrowed the money from our 401k. We bought the house, we raised the rents, it started to cash flow, and that cash flow was able to pay us and pay back the 401k loan month over month. And that's how I did my first deal without knowing how to do any of this and with only having $1,000.
Wow, that's the best intro of all time ever.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's so inspiring too, because I mean, we don't come from a lot of money, and I still have friends who are just like, they don't have a lot. So I hope they listen to this episode and are inspired, man. I love that you just led off with, sounds like you just had it you just decided in your brain, like, I have to make a change. I love that you got in the right room, you showed up. I mean, that's a huge part of just being successful, I think, is showing up, which is what you did. And I love that, like, you were just like, I'm an investor. Like I'm a real estate. You like started with you like established the identity. And I feel like you probably just like hypnotized yourself after a while. And it's just like, yeah, this is who I am now. I love that. And I especially love that you committed to the deal and then Googled it later. I hope that our listeners are taking that as like, obviously you were still doing your homework. You had a network to rely on. You knew that, kind of had a net, if you will. But I love that you just like committed first and then the deal came to you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Looking back, when you think about what it means to make a decision, right? And that's what I tell people, like, you got to decide you want to do this. And like, they go, yeah, I want to do it. And I'm like, no. Like, you have to decide. Like, decide. The suffix of the word decide is side, like suicide. It means to kill off. There's no other options. It's this or it's nothing, right? Like, you got to wholeheartedly believe that I am going to make this work. There's plan A, there's no plan B. It's going to work or it's going to work. Like, you have to feel that in your spirit, in your heart, in your mind. So, because when you do that, you're telling your brain, all right, brain, this is it. We're figuring this out or nothing. Right. And so like, as I encountered these roadblocks, first roadblock being like, hey, can you buy this house in 30 days? Well, I said, yeah. Right? Like,
I
even though I
love
had
it.
no idea, right? And so it was up to me to go figure out how. And my brain was already trained to start figuring out how. And so it was just,
Yep.
and that's why I said, when you asked me how did I do it, and it was one step at a time. It was like I just solved each problem as it came to me,
That's
and I
great.
didn't let my brain talk me out of doing this, because your logic or your common sense will try to tell you that you can't do this, right? Your fear will try to tell you you can't do this. Obviously, most people's answer is, if you only have $1,000 in your bank account and someone says, can you buy my house in 30 days? Logic and common sense will tell you to say no, right? Like, most people are going to say, I can't. I want to, but I can't. Right. And we make decisions. We make decisions for other people all the time, mostly out of fear. Like, we'll tell ourselves, I'd like to buy that house, but I can't. Like, I just don't have the money. Well, how do you know that? Like, you don't know that. You didn't go talk to a bank, and a bank didn't tell you that you have to have this amount of money. You didn't go talk to any private money lenders or hard money lenders and them tell you what you need. Like, you just are deciding, like, I don't have money, so I can't do it. You don't know that.
Love it.
Um,
It sounds
and
to me like you also, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of taking notes here. Sounds to me like you found a great deal, or I'm sorry, the deal found you,
Yep.
By sheer luck, or really you identifying yourself, branding
Positioning.
yourself, positioning
Mhm.
yourself really well. So they came to you. Awesome. I love that. They gave it to you for undervalue. And so I'm assuming the deal was already really sweet. And so therefore, the deal was so good, you were able to attract the down payment and the funding, the initial funding.
Yeah, the deal was good, and I'm sure if I shopped around the deal, I could have found the money. But luckily, the 401k option was there,
Right.
and so what I was able to do was, because the deal was good, and I brought that to the other investors. They wanted to help me get it done. They're like, "Yeah, this is a good
Nice.
deal. We got it. Let's help you get this thing done. Here's some things you can think about." Right, and that's what got me to the
For,
idea of the
for that
401k
help,
loan.
for that mentorship, did you offer them anything like equity, or was it just like they just loved you and wanted your success?
Yeah, so the way that conversation actually worked was, I went to my buddy and I said, "Hey, I know you're doing deals. Like, I can't figure out how to get this thing done." I was like, "If I can't get it closed," I was like, "Will you take it? Because I just need to help my friend out. He needs to sell this house, right? He needs to get it done." I told him I could, and if I can't do it, I at least want somebody who can, to take it over and do it. And so he basically told me, he was like, "Look, this is a good deal and I would buy it." He was like, "But you need to figure out how to get it done." And that's when we started really brainstorming on what are some options. And we landed on that 401k. So yeah, I offered the deal to him to get it done.
Nice. So you actually you leaped, but you had some contingency
Yep.
plans like plan B and C. That's great. I love
Yep.
that. Calculated risks. Vince, what do you got?
Oh, I got 50 different things. I'm writing it down. But I wanted to break some of the stuff Henry is saying first, so people actually can follow along. So for anyone who doesn't know what a 401k is, it's a retirement tax deferred retirement savings plan set up between the government and your company, and you can contribute, right? And what Henry's talking about is a loan. So what it is you can actually borrow up to $50,000 and or half of what you have, whichever is lower. So if you only had 60,000, just kind of like what I had, and I borrowed 30,000, and then I paid back slowly. I bought it to purchase my primary home, so I get a 30-year term to pay it back, and at an interest rate, and then the interest goes to you. And then if Henry bought it for, did you use it as an investment property, Henry?
Yes, absolutely.
So he gets a 5-year term to pay that back, but all of that money goes back to him, right? So you can leverage. There's no penalty. There's no tax. So that's the 401k aspect of this, the thing. So you can have different aspects to actually, if Henry didn't have money, but his wife had money in 401k. I don't have money, but Drew might have money under his mattress, which he did. So you can always leverage other people's money, and that's one of your key things, right, Henry? Like
Absolutely.
leveraging other people, like small banks, credit unions.
Yeah,
stuff
small
like that.
banks, credit unions, and then what I like about that strategy is you can use, when you're doing commercial loans from small banks and credit unions, it's not like a conventional loan where they have to really track where your down payment comes from. Like, it's got to be in your account for a certain period of time, and if it's somebody gifts it to you, it's got to be like tracked, and there has to be, right. And so with small banks, like, they don't care where your down payment comes from. Somebody can gift it to you, you can borrow it, as long as you have it, it's cool. And so I was able to figure out how to go raise the down payments either from other investors who had money sitting on the sidelines or from friends or family. And I would use, or from lines of credit, and I would use those to supplement the down payments. And so I was technically getting 100% financing.
And so the smaller banks and credit unions wouldn't do those thorough checks. You don't need to be seasoned, none of that.
Nope.
Interesting. I didn't know.
So what are the loans based off, Henry? Are they based off your credit DTI? Are we talking DSCR 1.25 and stuff?
Yeah, no, they're based off partially. They are going to check your credit, right? And they're going to look at the deal as well. So they are local, which means they understand your local market. They understand the market conditions. So they know what a good deal is. And small local banks are different than the big banks. So the big banks make their money on doing 30-year fixed rate mortgages, right? Or DSCR loans and those types of things. But then they sell those loans, right? So those loans have to fit into a very specific box because they're going to sell them and make money selling those loans. Small local banks make their money through loaning to small businesses, small local businesses, right? They have to loan money to stay in business. If they're not lending money, then they're going to go under. So they want to lend to safe investments. And so if they have the choice between, lending to, Joe Bob's food truck or lending to a real estate deal that the purchase price is 115, but it's worth 150. Well, we all know small businesses fail typically within the first few years. And if they loan on the food truck and it fails, they get control of the assets that they, that business acquired, which would probably be a food truck and some, food truck business supplies. Well, if they need to sell those, they'll sell them for pennies on the dollar. They won't recoup everything they lent. But if Henry fails and I foreclose and they have to foreclose on me, well, then they get control of a house that I bought for 115 that's worth 160. If they go sell that even under its value at 125 or 130, it would be easy for them to do. And they would make more money that way than they would if I was just making my on-time interest payments, right? And so it's real estate investors are a less risky loan for them, and so they want to loan to you. And so if you can, and it's a relationship-based business because they don't have the same tight lending criteria. Now, every bank is going to have lending criteria, but they're not going to go sell these loans. They keep them in their portfolio in-house. And so since they keep these loans in their portfolio in-house, the small local banks can be a little more flexible on those terms. They will have a box they want you to stay in, but if you have a strong relationship with them and you have a history of success, they may be willing to bend or flex on some of that criteria in order to help you bring them more deals for them to lend on because it's a safer investment.
So what kind of terms are we talking? Can you give some numbers about, I'm all about numbers, right? So is it, what kind of LTV? Is it LTC? How do those work?
Yeah, it'll vary. So typically you're going to get a loan and that loan is going to be amortized over 20 or 25 years typically. It's going to follow the Fed rate. So it's going to be about could be anywhere from a half a point to 3/4 of a point to a point higher than what the current Fed rate is, because it's a commercial property it's for an investment property. So your rates are going to be a little higher than if you're going to purchase a home to live in. And you're going to have to, it's typically going to be a 3 or 5 year adjustable rate, meaning that after 3 or 5 years, the rate can adjust to whatever the new Fed rate is at the time. Now, some are balloons, meaning that after that 3 or 5 year period, they come due and then they'll relend on them. And some aren't balloons, but the rate does adjust. So you just have to pay attention to what kind of terms they're offering you. And then typically they're construction loans, meaning that if I'm going to buy a property that I'm going to fix and flip, right, the bank will loan me typically 85% of the purchase price and 100% of the renovation costs, as long as that total loan amount is under 75 to 85% loan to value, right? So they're going to do an evaluation of the property, and whatever that evaluation comes back at, they'll loan you 85% of the purchase and 100% of the renovation, as long as it doesn't go over 75 or 85% loan to value. It's typically how they're set up. Now, some banks can be different within that same criteria. Like I have a bank I work with, and they say, hey, as long as what you need to purchase and renovate that property falls under 75% of the appraised value, then you don't have to bring any money to the table, right? And so if I'm buying a deal, for ease of numbers sake, if I'm buying a deal that appraises at 100,000 and I'm buying it for 50,000 and I need 20,000 to renovate it, well, all I need is $70,000. That's less than 75% of the appraised value, and so I wouldn't have to bring anything to closing. They'd fund all of it.
And then you can usually do you make monthly payments, or do you make everything?
Yeah, so there'll be a
close?
construction period. So it's either a 6-month or 12-month construction period, and you'll decide that on the front side of what terms you want. And so if it was 6 months construction period, that means my payments are interest only for the first 6 months while I'm renovating the property.
Nice. So they give you a little bit of IO too. That's nice.
Yep.
So these are a little bit, we usually have a lot of younger listeners, and we usually tend to tell them to take 30-year fix, because these are a little bit more complicated. You need to know the game. You can't be buying these 2-year fix and then it adjusts from 2% to 50%, right, interest rate, because the Feds change their mind halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
So do you say that to people? This is more like of a seasoned kind of deal, but you used it on your first deal, right?
Yeah. No. I've used it. I used it on my first deal, and I still use them. Yes, there is a risk right now, especially now. So when I first got started, it was less risky, right? The rate wasn't changing like crazy right now. Yes, rates are rising right now. And so you want to, pay attention to what you're doing. So the idea is that if I'm fixing and flipping a property, I'm not planning on being in it very long, right? And so if it's on a 3-year adjustable rate, if I'm still flipping a house 3 years later, something went terribly wrong, right? I'm supposed to be in and out of that thing in a few years. Now, if you're buying it as a rental property, right, you can also use a tool like this to buy the property, renovate it, and then you can refinance into a 30-year fixed after so you could do the BRRRR strategy and refinance into a 30-year fixed, and you can refinance into a 30-year fixed with a conventional mortgage or do a hard money loan as well. So no, it's not something you want to stay in long term as a rental property, but if it's for something you're going to flip, if you're on a 3 or 5 year adjustable rate, you shouldn't be flipping a house 3 years down the road. It should be something that you can get in and out of within a year's time.
Yeah, man, that's cool. I wanted to pivot a little bit because we only have about 15-20 minutes left. I wanted to see that you bought your first deal, and then how many years ago was this? Was this 50 years ago? Like, what are we talking?
5 years ago, late 2017.
So you said you Googled how to buy a property in 2017, and you have 80 rental properties 5 years later. So what's happening there? Like, what was your thing?
Have you thought about investing in real estate and taking advantage of all of those benefits without any of the work? That is something that OnV Invest not only provides, but has been providing since its inception. With friends and family, we have built an empire and a system of a wealth generating tool that is giving us and our friends and family that leverage in their life to create true wealth. Go to onvinvest.com for more to see if you qualify. And thanks for listening.
Yeah. So a couple of things happened after I closed that first deal. The first thing that happened was the bank called me and said, hey, there's some equity in this property. It was a really good deal. We'd like to give you a line of credit against that equity so that you can go buy more deals like this and bring them to us, right? Because they wanted more safe, comfortable deals like that. And that's when I learned about being able to leverage, right? And that's when I learned about using these other income sources to supplement the down payments. And so when you are a real estate investor, if you want to grow and scale your business, there's two problems you have to solve. You have to solve the money issue, which is you need money to buy the properties. And if you run out of money, you can't buy any more properties. And you need to solve the deal flow issue, meaning you need properties to buy. If you have a great source of deal flow and a great source of money flow, then you can essentially scale as fast as you want to. And so I knew I had solved the money issue by having banks that were going to either lend to me at 100% as long as I was under the total loan to value, or that were going to let me supplement the down payment by using a line of credit. So I knew I needed to solve the deal flow problem in order to scale. And so I immediately started looking into like who has the deal flow problem solved, right? Who finds the best deals in real estate? And I started to learn that it was wholesalers that were good at finding real estate deals. And so I just started to study wholesalers. Not that I wanted to be a wholesaler. I didn't, and I don't wholesale. I just wanted to build my business like a wholesaler so that I could buy everything, right? And so that's what we do. I do tons of direct to seller marketing to generate leads, just like a wholesaler does, except when I find the good deals, I buy them. And then I sell the ones that I don't want, and I keep the ones that I want to keep as rentals.
And all of your 80 properties, they are duplexes or single families?
Yeah, my portfolio is mostly made up of small multis and single families. So my largest unit count is an 8-unit property. I've got an 8-unit, I've got a 5, I've got a couple of 4s, some 3s, and several duplexes and some singles.
Oh, so you have way more than 100 units at this point.
No. 80 doors.
80 doors. Okay.
80 doors,
That's
yes.
cool.
Mhm.
And then do you have partners in those deals, Henry, or do you just use debt partners? You have equity partners?
Yeah. So I do have some business partners. So I own about 25 doors in a 50-50 partnership with that same investor who helped me brainstorm the idea for the 401k loan. So that relationship turned into a partnership down the road. So we own about 25 doors together there. I own a 12-unit commercial property office complex with a few partners, and then most of the rest is mine.
And then where are you finding these partners? I know the first guy was your buddy you met at a meetup, right?
Yeah, most of my business partners come through real estate meetups, where we've developed a relationship / friendship over the time that we've been, going to these meetups. And then the other business partners I have come through just relationships in the business and networking. And so I met the partners on the commercial deal through just word of mouth. He was one of the guys as a good buddy of mine, and he invests mostly in commercial, and I wanted to get into commercial. And so we just been chit chatting and looking at deals, because essentially what I wanted to do was office hack, because I wanted an office for my business. Like you see me, I'm in an office now. I wanted a space like this. And so I didn't want to rent one. And I was like, well, I'll just buy an office building and then I'll get a free office space by office hacking. And so that's how he and I met. He was helping me look for office spaces, and then we decided to partner on a deal.
So just attending a lot of meetups seems to be the key for you. Huh?
Yeah, man. This is a relationship business. This is a people business. It's a people business. Well, it's a people business that transacts in real estate, right? So if you want to be successful, like, you should look to focus on, like, how can you be of service from every person that ever sits across from you? Not what can I get or take from this person, not what do I need from this person. Yes, you want to work with a contractor because you need them to flip out to renovate a house. Yes, you want to work with a bank because you need them to lend you some money. Yes, you want to work with, a title company because you need them to help you close your transaction. But if you change your train of thought to, like, how can I be of service to this person, even though they're supposed to be of service to you, like, you're going to create really, really strong relationships. For everybody you talk to, if you listen for how you can be of service to them and then just provide value to them, people will go to the ends of the earth for you. Contractors will put your deals, your renovations ahead of other people's. Title companies will go the extra mile to make sure that your deals are clean and can close, and they'll look out for you when things look funny, like, and especially when you stop looking at appointments with sellers as deals you need to close, and you start looking at them as, this person's reaching out to me because they have a problem, or else they wouldn't be trying to sell their property under market value. So how can I help them solve their problem? And even if helping them solve their problem results in you not buying the property, you should still figure out a way to help, because that's the responsibility I feel like we have as real estate investors, right? You shouldn't be trying to make money off of a community without being of service to that community.
Sure. I really like that. I remember that story from your Bigger Pockets days when you used to be a guest on there, and then you
Yeah,
talked about that.
yeah,
And it was pretty cool. I actually wanted to ask you some questions about your social media game. I know you just hit
yeah,
100K, right, on IG.
yeah, pretty close.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, congratulations on that, dude.
Thank you.
That's
I
really
appreciate it.
awesome. So my question is, how did you? I see a lot of people, they're writing books, they go on all these things and talk about real estate, and then I find out they have 3 townhomes, and then I'm like, okay, well, Drew and I have 50 houses, and we should be writing books and having way more followers. So how did you go from, nobody in IG to 100K followers, and also how is that helping you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I don't get asked about social media very much. Yeah, man, there's a few keys I think that work on social media as far as like understanding, strategies and things, and then a lot of it is just about consistency. And so, like, for me, the things that work the best are um, the secret sauce in growing your social media is to give away the secret sauce, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
give away your best tips, tricks, strategies, give it away for free. Make a video about it. The things that are the most helpful to you in your business, that are the things that bring you the most money, the things that help you the best, just tell people for free on social media. Doesn't matter how you tell them, just tell it. And what that does is it's going to build extreme amounts of trust. 95% of the people who listen to you give them the best tip that you know, the best strategy that you know, are going to do absolutely nothing with it. Right? They're going to do nothing with it, but they will trust you because you gave it to them because they'll know it's valuable. Right? And
Mm-hmm.
so they'll build trust. And trust means they're going to share your page with other people. They're going to talk about your page to other people. They're going to that's going to build you the followers. It's building the trust and giving away the secret sauce. And building trust is really what's key, because when you build trust with people, they're more likely to spend money with you. Right. And so when you do have that product or service that you want to offer to people, because you've been so giving of information freely, they're more willing or likely to spend money with you because they know what they're going to get with you. They got great value for free. I know what he charges for is going to be awesome, right? So give your best stuff away. The other best tip I could give to you is you just have to, it's like anything else. It's like I am with real estate investing. You got to be relentlessly consistent about putting your content out there, and don't overthink it. Just put it out there. You already are the content. You're recording a podcast right now. Somebody should have a camera on you, right? If you look,
Mm-hmm.
like right now, look at me. So I'm reaching to my computer. This phone has been sitting against my computer recording me talk to you, because everything is content, and I will chop this stuff up and post it as reels. You should have a camera on you all the time. People say I don't have time to be consistent. Yes, you do. You just don't have a camera on you. Have a camera on you no matter what you're doing. Turn that into content, post it. Don't overthink it. And you just put it out there. Like, the only person that is worried about like how perfect your content is you. Nobody else cares. They just want to hear what the message is, right? So put a camera on you all the time. Have somebody chop up that content and put it out there. Post multiple times a day and never stop. You will grow. I promise.
Nice.
Okay. And then the second part, well, Henry, was I know Drew, you're itching to ask something too, but the second part was how are you getting investors or partners? I know you have courses and stuff that you do have, but do you get like partners, like better relationship from your followers too, or no?
Uh yes, in a roundabout way. Right. So
Okay.
the idea is, so the reason I have a social media is because after I did that first deal, 90 days before I did that first deal, I had a panic attack and I didn't know how I was going to take care of my family. I did that first deal and I knew I had found the thing that was going to change the financial landscape for my family forever. And I knew that I'd done it. Like, this was it for me. And so I had this overwhelming urge to share everything that I had done, because I changed my life. And there's so many people who are in that same position. who are feeling stuck, feeling trapped, not knowing how they're going to take care of their family, and they don't know that they can do the thing that I just did. And so I felt like I had this responsibility to share this information with as many people as possible. And so I just started posting stuff on social media because that was my way of sharing it. Right. And so, like, you have to genuinely want to help people. And if you genuinely want to help people, that's going to help your account grow, because people will see that genuineness in your content, in your words, in your actions, right? And so if you genuinely want to help people, then you have a responsibility to put that information out there. And so when you're putting that information out there, go ahead, repeat your question again. I want to make sure I stay on track.
The partners. Do you develop partner?
Right. So I'm getting around about to. So because I was putting that information out there, then you start to have some strategy with it. And the strategy with it was, okay, I'm accumulating an audience. I want to help them. I know that I can help them with free content. I can help them more with more structured content. But more structured content takes more time, so it should cost something. Also, people don't value free information. That's why they don't do anything with it. When they spend some money on it, then they start to take some more action. And so I said, I will continue to give free content away, right? But I also want to have the next tier of paid content, so that the people that want that more structured information, so that they can take that and go take action on it quicker, will have that. People who want to pay for information are going to pay for it. They want to pay for it with you because they like, know, and trust you. But if you don't have it, they're just going to go to somebody else. So you're leaving money on the table by not having a product or a service, right? And so I started to put those products and services out there. So I have these courses. These courses produce income, but I still have my courses priced really, really low because I wanted the barrier to entry to be low. So again, I build trust with free content. Then I have low cost courses, which build a ton of trust because people get them and they go, well, I would have paid a whole lot more because I'm getting a ton of value, right? More trust. And then I have the next tier, right? That higher ticket mentorship type program. And in that mentorship type program, people join because I've nurtured all this trust up until this point. And in that mentorship program, I'm absolutely partnering with students on deals and partnering with students on lending and those types of things, right? And so, yes, most of my students were followers that I nurtured into my program. And now we are sharing those types of resources and doing deals together.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, Drew, do you have anything?
No, I just want to reemphasize that personal brand is so important, so huge. I am kind of curious personally, as well as something for the listeners. What are those courses? How can we find those?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? It's too bad they won't get released today. But so the courses you can find at the link in my bio, or you can go to linktree.com, linktr.ee/Independence Realty Group. And that's the link to my link tree. And then you can find all my courses. If you don't want to type all that in, you can just go to my Instagram, click the link in my bio, and all the courses will be there.
What's your Instagram again?
At the Henry Washington.
There's only one.
There's only one.
Henry Washington.
At the Henry Washington. Yeah, you can go to there. And then I have a free book you can find at henrywashington.com. Nice. But everything's in there. Courses are only $40 typically. And you can grab those.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I'm super interested in becoming a part of that. I love what you got going on. I'm kind of curious now, for me, sorry if I always tend to shift the conversation because I'm operations. I'm doing a lot of short term. We're even talking about medium term. Do you do any of that, or are these all just long term tenants?
Yeah, no. I've got 2 Airbnbs, 3 now, 2 live, and then 1 we're finishing up a renovation on. But we bought it with the intent of it being an Airbnb, and I love them. Love my Airbnbs.
Is this all in Arkansas? Is this in your area?
Yes,
are you?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Nice. Your whole portfolio is in that state?
Arkansas, a little bit Missouri.
See, when are you running for governor, man?
Politics is not my game.
Fair. That's cool, man. So what brought you into the short-term rental market? Because we have our reasons in our story, and it's exciting. It's awesome. How did that evolve?
I had one about 3 years ago before it was super cool. And there weren't as many management companies out there. We did a lot of managing ourselves and did a lot of time doing laundry and cleaning houses. And that's not what I wanted to do. So we let it go, turned it into a long-term rental as popularity grew. And I just am in a pretty cool area where there's lots of travel here due to the types of industry that are here. And it's like the mountain biking capital of the world. And so I had a duplex that both sides moved out at the same time. And it's in that area that people go to. And I was like, well, let's just furnish them and see how it goes. Now there's more management companies. I found somebody that would manage it for a reasonable price. And I was like, let's try it again. And if it doesn't work well, then we'll sell the furniture and put it back on a long-term rental. And man, that thing has been kicking butt. So I love it. And it's managed and I don't touch it. It's just, I love it. It's the most passive asset I have.
And it's pretty much, it's passive. The cash flow is great, even despite having a management team.
Yep, it's phenomenal.
Wow. Are you like just super like not leveraged on that? Is that why? Or
no, there's a loan on it. You know, I bought it, there's a loan on it. And no, it's just it just stays booked up because of where it is and the dynamics of the market that I'm in. So this doesn't work everywhere, obviously, you know, but it just happens to be in an area that works well because there's not a lot of hotels in the city where I live, but there is a lot of travel to this place.
That's cool, man. Are you intending to have more, or are you looking just to maybe stick?
We'll have the one more, and then we may strategically convert a couple of more, but it is still Arkansas, and so like there's little niche markets where it makes sense, but it's not like I live in Miami where you can make everything a short-term rental.
What mistakes did you make initially in getting into the short-term game?
Not understanding what it took to manage it, and then not understanding the ancillary costs other than just like a long-term rental wouldn't have, like, you know, you've got lawn care and supplies, and not having a schedule for making sure supplies stay in there. There was really no processes in place. We just kind of did it when we first got started, and we realized that like managing an Airbnb is the hospitality industry. It's not it's not the, you know, the landlord industry, and so it takes a different approach.
Nice. How do you vet and find like a great management team?
Lucky for me, the guy who started this management company, I kind of, I don't know if mentored is the word, helped him get started in his real estate investing journey before he had an Airbnb business.
Nice.
And so we had a relationship, and he kind of cut me a deal on the management because of that. And so it's worked out well.
Wow. So that goes full circle into what you were talking about as number one, with at least what I gathered was you're always asking, how can I provide value? And I think that's so important, and something that a lot of younger cats, I don't know, it's so hard for them to wrap their head around it, because it's always, how can I get something? How can I get this? How can I grab that and get cat? And I love your approach. It's such a better, more long-term, wise approach of how to approach anything, I think, is to ask that question. How can I be a service to this person? Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's just something like, you're not going to figure out a way to help every person, and that's okay. But when you're consistently thinking about that, like, how can I be of service? You're training your brain to listen for ways to help. And sometimes you'll hear a way to help. And sometimes that help is just, well, let me make an email connection to this other person that does the thing that they need help with. But if you just make that connection without asking, just saying, I heard you needed help with A, B, and Z. My buddy does X, Y, and Z. I already sent an email and connected you guys, man. Hopefully you can work something out. Right. And that goes world. Just do the thing. Just help. Don't ask, just help.
And it builds your personal brand. Everyone knows. So Henry Washington, he's just a solid guy. He just, I don't know why he gives me so much value, but and in the back of their mind, not that you're doing it for this reason, but I know in the back of their mind, like, I got to hook him up somehow.
It's human nature, man. It's human nature. Absolutely.
And going back to what you're talking about before, it's a relationship business. That's and I think that even transcends real estate. It's especially important in real estate. But yeah, man, I think that's part of the secret sauce. If I can draw some conclusions of your success and your journey in 5 years, that's insane how much you scaled.
Thank you.
And that's so awesome, man. And it comes down to those fundamentals. So,
thank you.
Henry, I know you got to run, but 90 seconds or less, this market, what's happening? I know you're on the market. Are you still buying? Should we still buy? Should we sell everything and buy Bitcoin?
Yeah, man. No, I'm absolutely still buying. This market is crazy. Interest rates are going up, probably going to go up again. That's okay. I don't care about interest rates. If the numbers work, whether the interest rate's 10% or 2%, right? So you be more conservative about your numbers, obviously. If you're going to do a flip and it's going to take you, 3 to 6 months, then you need to factor in the fact that your ARV now may be, 5% to 10% less when you go to sell it. So factor that in on the front side when you're making your offers. And if you're going to buy and hold, well, if the plan is to buy and hold, real estate may come down for a little bit, but it's going to go back up. If you zoom out on the chart, real estate's going to go up. So buying and holding is less risky. Yeah, 30-year fixed rate mortgages are safer. Pay attention to those. But yeah, the markets, it's not crashing, it's correcting, right? We were in a crazy place the past 2 years with values skyrocketing and interest rates being so low. It's not normal, and it really wasn't healthy for the market. So the fact that we're seeing markets come down 10%, 15%, that's just correcting back to what it probably should have been in the first place. And so no, I'm not freaking out. This is a manufactured crash. It's just a correction. It's not a crash.
Any thoughts on the positive GDP that we saw today for the third quarter?
No, man, I haven't even had a chance to look. So I don't.
We came up on like 0.6%. So no more recession, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. I know, right? No recession is
like I said, manufactured correction.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Feds are trying to. Well, the inflation's high, but it's a whole different thing. Hey, Henry, thanks for coming on. I know you have a call in 2 minutes, but people can reach you at Henry Washington on IG. Is that the best way?
Best way to reach me is Henry Washington. Absolutely, on IG. Click the link in my bio. Check out henrywashington.com.
I don't know about you, but I definitely like to see 5-star reviews on any service or any product before I purchase. Please take a second to leave us a 5-star review, whether you're listening to it on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, or whatever platform. Take a second, goes a long way, helps us a lot to grow the channel, and thanks for listening.